We have 9 bills before us today, which we're going to have a hearing on 3 at a time. The first 3 relate to our administration's continued response to Hurricane Sandy and our efforts to protect New Yorkers and get businesses affected by Sandy Hook back on their feet. This is introductory number 1017, and it's sponsored in conjunction with our administration by Speaker Quinn and Council members Rainier, Chin, Recchia, Lappin, Arroyo, Mealy, Koo, Eugene, Vallone, Barron, Cabrera, Comrie, Greenfield, James King, Koslowitz, Lander, Mark Favorito, Mendez, Nelson, Palmer, Richards, Rose, Vaca, Vaughn, Halloran, and Ulrich. We are all acutely aware of the extensive damage left after Hurricane Sandy hit New York City on October 29, 2012. The storm caused heavy flooding, as everybody knows, power outages, and widespread damage to vast areas of our city. Thousands of businesses were impacted, causing significant disruptions to individuals, families, neighborhoods, and the city's economy. And restoring these businesses and the jobs they create is a critical part of the city's overall recovery from Sandy. Introductory number 1017 will allow businesses that were operating on or prior to Hurricane Sandy in any of the severely impacted areas to qualify to have certain fees waived through the end of the year related to the repair and reconstruction of their businesses. Any business that has already paid these fees will be eligible for a refund. Introductory number 107A, another bill sponsored by Council Speaker Quinn and Council members Ignacio, Otto, Comrie, James, Koo, Williams, Wills, Lappin, Arroyo, Rose, Halloran, Ulrich, and Lander, establishes regulations for the elevation of homes. In the aftermath of Hurricane Sandy, one method for protecting a home and complying with insurance requirements is to elevate the home to a desired flood elevation, and it is incumbent upon the city to ensure that this work gets done properly. Introductory number 107A requires construction plans to clearly state whether a project will involve home elevation work. Contractors to give 48 hours notice to the Department of Buildings before elevating a home. Home elevation work to be done under the supervision of an approved special inspector, and requires the Consumer Affairs Department to provide education to the public regarding the types of home work improvement contractors can do and the licenses and permits needed by such contractors to do different kinds of work. Third bill, introductory number 1016, sponsored by Speaker Quinn and Council members Otto, Vallone, Recchia, Mendez, Ulrich, Ignacio, Rose, Arroyo, Chin, Comrie, Gentili, Greenfield, King, Nelson, Palmer, and Halloran increases penalties for crimes committed during a local state of emergency. The city's experience during Hurricane Sandy brought to light the need to address the fear that many home and business owners feel when directed to elevate their premises, the fear that criminals will exploit the situation. While we saw a reduction in major crimes committed during the week of October 29th compared to the previous year, there were some local spikes in burglaries committed in areas directly affected by the storm, and the more widespread and significant danger came from the fear of burglary, leading people to fail to evacuate when they should have. Introductory number 1016 addresses this fear by enacting new civil and criminal penalties specifically targeting those who commit despicable acts when their victims are at their most vulnerable. The crimes articulated in the bill are those which would most likely be associated with a state of emergency, and the two-tier system of penalties reserves the most serious punishment for those who commit these acts in a mandatory evacuation area during a mandatory evacuation period. And I would like to thank Councilor to the Mayor, Michael Best, Police Commissioner Ray Kelly, Buildings Commissioner Robert Lamandry, Consumer Affairs Commissioner Jonathan Mintz, and New Business Acceleration Team Executive Director Robinson Hernandez, along with my Office of City Legislative Affairs for their work on these bills. And I would also like to thank the City Council for approving this legislation. Is there anyone who would like to speak? Any of the councilmen? Anybody else? If not, if there's no objections, I will sign the bill. And today is April 2nd. The next three bills before us assist the city's veterans in seeking employment. Come on up here. Introductory, number 1014 is sponsored by Speaker Quinn and Council Members Gonzalez, Chin, Comrie, Eugene, Gentili, James, Koo, Capel, Lander, Mark Viverito, Mendez, Nelson, Palmer, Rose, Vaughn, Williams, Recchia, Drum, Rodriguez, Crowley, Jackson, Mealy, Rania, Richards, Halloran, and Ulrich. Introductory number 1019 is sponsored by Speaker Quinn and Council Members Wills, Cabrera, Chin, Eugene, Gentili, James, Koo, Capel, Lander, Mark Viverito, Palmer, Rose, Mendez, Recchia, Drum, Rodriguez, Crowley, Jackson, Lappin, Mealy, Rania, Richards, Halloran, and Ulrich. In an effort to provide support for veterans seeking a trade license from the city, existing law allows veterans who served in the Korean conflict and Vietnam War to apply their military experience towards the licensing requirements, even if that experience is unrelated to the license, so long as they have acquired a minimum of 1 year's experience related to the license before serving. Together, these two bills allow equivalent military service to qualify as experience in a trade for purposes of obtaining a license from the city, and updates the law to apply the existing military experience credit to current and future military conflicts. Agency heads issuing the licenses will have the discretion to determine if additional experience is necessary. Introductory number 945A, the third bill in this group, is sponsored by Speaker Quinn and Council Members Eugene, Comrie, Fiddler, Gentili, Gonzalez, James, Capel, Koslowitz, Mendez, Nelson, Palmer, Rose, Williams, Wills, Rodriguez, Drum, Mealy, Recchia, Crowley, Jackson, Lappin, Rania, Richards, Halloran, and Ulrich. Introductory number 945A requires the Mayor's Office of Veterans Affairs to include on their website employment resources for veterans, including a link to the Federal Job Bank and links to federal and state websites that offer employment services for veterans and translation of military occupations to civilian jobs. MOVA will also link to websites posted by the City's Department of Small Business Services and consult with the City's Department of Citywide Administrative Services to identify military jobs with skills that translate to qualifications for competitive exams. And I would like to thank our Commissioner Terrence Holliday from the Mayor's Office of Veterans Affairs, along with my Office of City Legislative Affairs for their works on these bills, also the City Council for approving this legislation. The Commissioner first. Want to say something?
These bills are represent a consolidated effort by everyone to recognize the experience and the certifications that our military people are bringing back from the service. And it's a cost savings for us, it's a cost savings for them, and these men and women do not have to start at the very beginning to get to a certain point in time, because they're performing some of these tasks under some very strong and challenging circumstances. They'll do very well in New York City.
Councilman Gonzalez, would you like to say something?
Sure. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Mayor. It's an opportunity when you're in the council to author bills. There's bills and bills and bills. But this is a bill that I am very proud of to be a lead, and my colleagues as well, because it brings home what we need for our soldiers. If folks go out to fight and they protect us and they protect our country, we have to be able to support them. This bill provides 1014, which is the one that I'm the lead of, provides an opportunity for them to return home, that they can continue their lives, that they can utilize their strengths and whatever experiences they had during the conflicts, that they can provide for their family and they can obtain work. That is very important because it continues their life, it makes them viable, and it also says the government cares. So I appreciate this bill. I want to thank the Speaker, and I want to thank all my colleagues who supported. Thank you, Mayor Bloomberg. But more than anything, I'd like, if I may, Mayor Bloomberg, I have here with us today, I'm very honored that Colonel Gynes from Fort Hamilton Army Base and Sergeant Major Prince, are here with us. They have been very supportive. They're folks that protect us, and it's an honor to have you here with us today with this bill. Thank you, Mayor Bloomberg.
Let me just explain to you how the military works. The Sergeant Major does all the work. The Colonel gets all of the credit.
It's like I do the work.
Councilman James.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor.
He's in trouble when he gets back to base.
I know.
Thank you. I'm going to be very brief. I just want to thank the mayor for signing, these bills. Very important. They are very important. And I want also to thank my colleagues, the Speaker, and the Commissioner. And we all know the sacrifices made by all our men and women in uniform. We owe them a great deal of gratitude. It is our responsibility, or moral responsibility, to work together to do everything that we can do to make sure that they have not only the services that they deserve, also job opportunities. And the third bill, that I sponsored also is very important. Most of the time, we have so many resources available for the citizen, for people, but they don't know where to go get them. And this one, MOVA is going to put together all the resources, the job are available in the website. I'm sorry. And then they can go to the website and with the click of the mouse and get all the information that they need. Again, thank you to all of you who have been part of this effort. And to all of veterans, thank you for your service. Thank you very much.
Councilman? Councilman Wills?
Good morning. When you pass legislation, a lot of times you don't really see the impact of the legislation until months or years after it's done. But a couple of Saturdays ago, I had the honor of being with Commissioner Holliday in JFK Airport, meeting with the Tuskegee Airmen, real Tuskegee Airmen, and heritage members. And as we discussed this bill coming forward, these three bills coming forward, one of the heritage members actually told me that her son had just applied for a job in which this bill would affect him because the requirements that he had to go forward would be 5 more months of training, and then it still wasn't guaranteed for him to get this job. So these bills actually have an impact that I've seen before it was actually signed. So I want to thank Speaker Quinn for her leadership. I want to thank the Chair, Matthew Eugene, and my colleague Sarah, as well as the Mayor for signing these bills today. Thank you.
I should also point out we have Councilman Fidler here. Congressman, Councilman, it's one of the same. That's exactly right. Iceberg, Goldberg, Sandberg, might have lean in. Would anybody else like to add anything? If not, I'll be happy to sign the bill.
Hold on a second.
Down in front, please.
Pen to Mr. Mayor.
We have enough. So are we together?
Thank you, sir. Not good.
Great. Thank you very much. Those are the bills, and we have another group here. The next two bills before us today amend the district plans for the Myrtle Avenue Business Improvement District and the Hub 3rd Avenue Business Improvement District. Introductory number 964 is sponsored at the request of the administration by Council Members Recchia, Arroyo, James, and Koo, and amends the district plan of the Myrtle Avenue Business Improvement District to add services and modify existing services. Introductory number 965 is sponsored at the request of the administration by Council Members Recchia, Arroyo, Cabrera, James, and Koo, and amends the district plan of the Hub 3rd Avenue Business Improvement District district to add services and capital improvements, modify existing services, change the method of assessment upon which the district charge is based, and increase the maximum total amount to be expended for capital improvements in the district. Business improvement districts, as many of you know, also known as BIDs, are voluntarily formed community organizations that promote business development and improve the quality of life in neighborhoods across the city. Established by local law, BIDs are self-funded by local property owners and are overseen by the city's Department of Small Business Services. BID assessments provide a variety of services, including sanitation, security, marketing, and landscaping. The services provided to the community are essential to ensuring that small businesses in the neighborhoods in which they operate attract even more business owners, visitors, and residents. And I would like to thank the Small Business Services Commissioner, Rob Walsh, and his staff for working together with the Myrtle Avenue and Hub 3rd Avenue bids to help strengthen and expand services in the community. Also, I'd like to thank the City Council for approving this legislation. And we have one speaker, Theodore Renz, is it? Executive Director of the Myrtle Avenue bid? Is it Renz, R-E-N-Z?
Yes.
Sure. Just step in. Happy to have you.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to say thank you and to the City Council, and in particular Councilwoman Diana Rayner and the finance staff, to Rob Walsh, the Commissioner of SPS, and his staff for making these changes happen. As you know, bids are very important, and we all work together to make this city a better place. Thanks again.
Thank you.
That's all.
Anybody else? If not, I'm going to sign that, but why don't we do the last bill along with it? The final bill before us today is introductory number 866A, sponsored by council members Fiddler, Gonzalez, Ferreras, Barron, Brewer, Cabrera, Chin, Dickens, Gentili, Jackson, James, Koo, Capel, Koslowitz, Lander, Mendez, Palma, Recchia, Rose, Van Bremer, Van, Williams, Wells, Rodriguez, Nelson, Levin, Foster, Mark Viverito, Garodnik, Vaca, Arroyo, King, Drum, Lappin, Crowley, Eugene, Mealy, Rainier, and Richards. Introductory number 866A requires the Administration for Children's Services and the Department of Youth and Community Development to submit an annual report to the City Council determining the number of youth who identify themselves as or who the agencies determine to be sexually exploited. This data will be disaggregated by age, gender, agency, and agency contact and the services provided, and will better enable these agencies to target services to this vulnerable population. And I would like to thank the Administration for Children's Services Commissioner Ron Richter and Department of Youth and Community Development Commissioner Jeannie Mulgrove, along with my Office of City Legislative Affairs for their work in this bill. I'd also like to thank the City Council for approving this legislation. Councilman, would you like to add something? Councilman Fiddler.
Thank you. And I want to start by thanking Speaker Quinn and my colleagues, my counsel, Jen Wilcox, my policy analyst, Mike Benjamin, Tirzan Nasser, and my partners at DYCD and ACS in crafting this bill. This bill is the byproduct of about 30 hearings that we've held during my tenure as Youth Services Chairperson on the subject of runaway and homeless youth. Mr. Mayor, you may or may not be aware that a recent study from Columbia University established that on any given night in our city, 3,800 children are homeless without their families on our streets. That's a fact that I'm ashamed of as a member of government and as a father and as a human being. And as we strive to understand who these kids are, how they came to be there, what they're experiencing, deal with the fact that, every night in order to survive, they're selling their body, their soul, and their dignity just for another day. We have to understand the problem as well as we can. This bill acknowledges the fact that a significant subset, and I'm sure a very significant subset, of these young people have been or are being sexually exploited, perhaps making them the most vulnerable of the vulnerable. And the bill will help us understand what we're doing to respond to that, how many of these young people we're servicing and how many we aren't servicing. So I urge you to sign this bill, and if I may as well, and I apologize if this is out of line for the moment, in the interest of compassion and humanity, and I truly do believe you are a compassionate human being, Mr. Mayor, that you consider baselining the funding that exists for the continuum of services for these young people, because responsible adults don't let children sleep on subway gratings at night.
I will talk to Mark Page about it.
And
I want to say, incidentally, you really have done a good job, and this is God's work, and it's not something that most people think about, care about, but there are people in our society who just God's dealt them a bad hand, and we have an obligation to take care of them, and you are doing it. And
I appreciate it. I'd like to do that together with your administration.
Thank you, everyone. Appreciate it. Have a nice day.